Horror games have always existed, like Resident Evil, Silent Hill at the time. Stuff like FNAF obviously wasn't a thing back then. It was a myth, essentially. Wasn't out the boom just yet, you know, still developing. And indie horror was pretty mediocre at the time, and not that prevalent as it is today. Except for one game that emerged out of nowhere. Slenderman was one of the first indie horror games that surged on YouTube back in 2012 and started most people's YouTube channels. And it was one of the first internet sensations back in the day, along with the three musketeers of horror icons back then, Sonic.exe and Herobrine. The actual idea of Slenderman was created back in 2009 in a paranormal contest. The actual game Slender in the 8 Pages was released in 2012. Slenderman was different then. Similarly to Amnesia, it didn't follow the traditional cycle of horror, being you're a strong protagonist in a lost world fighting monsters. And don't get me wrong, Resident Evil and Silent Hill are great games and franchises, but Slenderman and Amnesia took that formula and threw it out the window. Amnesia is a different story, however, and today we'll just focus on good old Slendy. The general gist of Slender in the 8 Pages is that you'll play smack in the middle of a dark forest late at night, with one goal being, find the 8 pages. Now where have I heard that before? It's pretty simple to be honest, but you have zero clue where you're going, which is a good horror tactic at the time. Being uncertainty, and having no idea what direction you're supposed to be going in or heading to, or if you're even doing the right thing at all. Now as you play the game, all is swell until you realise
there's a man in the woods.
Now let's get all technical here for a second. There's a good video breaking down Slenderman's aggression system and AI, and I'll link it down below, but in summary, the parts I want to actually mention. Every 5 minutes spent in the game, Slenderman gets 1 added to his progress. When he's at 0 to 1 point, he spawns in and just teleports around here and there and gives you a little scare. Not much of a threat. When he's at 2 to 4 points, he can then attempt to trap you, which is essentially the white static and how that works, making you stare at him, and he also starts teleporting in front of you to try and get that. When he's at 5 to 6 points, this is where the danger officially starts. He teleports faster in front of you and has a 50% chance of trapping you. At 7 to 8, you're basically a sitting duck. He's in full hunt mode and he is coming for your ass. Now there is some way to counter him, and that's by turning off the flashlight, but honestly, that doesn't really do anything anyway, so I mean, what's the point? Plus, it's dark. The atmosphere and setting is what separated Slenderman from the traditional horror games. Obviously, you have the cricket MP4 in the background, but other than that, your first few minutes of gameplay is smooth sailing until you start collecting those pages. What's a kamikaze dissection video without a segment dedicated to sound, right? Like I said before, Slenderman gets more aggressive per note you collect, and so does the ambience. Take a listen. All this together creates a very unsettling atmosphere. Now granted, nowadays this would be considered fodder, but remember, this game is as old as some of you, nearly as old as me. So I think we can glaze it for, you know, being cool at the time. Now Slenderman and Amnesia, but specifically Slenderman, in this case, inspired so many different styles of indie horror. Obviously the glaring obvious one being Baldi's Basics, but since it used the no weapons formula, so many games subsequently used that exact formula, like FNAF or SCP or even Eyes. And I remember that one? And even the spin-off, I suppose, Slendrina. This game also did have the Slenderman formula as well, but it incorporated a puzzle mechanic, which was then later used in the popular mobile game Granny. They're made by the same guy, so go figure. Amnesia also did inspire a few games as well, such as Outlast, Alien Isolation, and Among the Sleep. The general core being it inspired the hide and run and no weapons gameplay. Other than the IP of Slenderman went to be one of the best-selling IPs and performed miraculously well. Ah, jeez, what went wrong? And so there you have it. A complete horror debrief of Slender in the 8 Pages. One of the best early creepypastas ever. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you luzzers in the next video.